Hello, and welcome to the show. Have a very special guest today, resident of Columbus, Georgia, I believe, at this current time. Very beautiful young lady. I say young, you're going to be absolutely amazed when she tells you about her life. She juggles a career, a family, and a sport. A very, very intense sport, and it is called roller derby. Welcome to Liz Wise to the show. Hi, Liz.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. And you do live here in Columbus now, correct?
Yes, I moved here in 2013 from San Antonio, Texas.
You were saying earlier to me, and since you said it, I guess I can say it too, she's 44 years old. And my question is, what should one do to maintain that kind of appearance at age 44? Because I'm just totally in awe. I think you're gorgeous.
Well, you're going to be even more in awe because I'm actually 47. I moved here when I was 44, and I started playing when I was 41. And I do all kinds of things. I started out being a runner. I just used to do like 5Ks. I got bored doing that, and then I tried out for roller derby, and I made the team. And then that got me interested in my performance as an athlete. So I started looking more into weight training and performance type training. And so I started doing CrossFit. And I've been doing CrossFit for like the last 2 years. So I run, I do CrossFit, and then I skate with the Muskogee Roller Girls.
Well, I absolutely admire that kind of self-discipline. I absolutely don't have any of that kind of self-discipline at all. Now, I understand you have children. How many and how old?
Yes, I have 3. I have Cy, he is 24, and he lives in Texas. I have Sophia, she is 14, and she is here in Columbus. And I have Chloe, who is 9 years old.
And does she like to skate, or has she tried doing the roller derby thing?
They both did. Sophia played back in Texas. I used to coach her. I helped coach the team that she was on. But then we moved here, and they did not have a junior roller derby team here. So we tried driving up to Atlanta, where they have the Atlanta Roller Girls, has a junior derby team there. But unfortunately, the commute was just too much for us, and her being a teenager, she just had other interests. So right now, neither of them are skating, but I'm hoping that someday they'll get back into it, especially if maybe Muskogee Roller Girls starts a junior derby team at some point in the future.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we're going to try to do today is inspire some public interest, because I honestly didn't know very much, and I still don't know a whole lot about roller derby, and I was just really intrigued by what it takes to get into it and what it involves. So perhaps we can inspire a little public interest and get some more bouts here in the area and have more participation from the general public, and we can learn a little, we can learn a whole lot from you as far as self-discipline and training and being fit, which is good for our health. Now, you also have a home-based job, you told me earlier, which takes up a lot of your time. What do you do, and how do you manage all of these requirements that you have with just 24 hours in a day?
Time management. I'm fortunate that we are a team of mostly women, so we are all very supportive of each other. We do provide childcare at practice, so even though my children are older, so they don't really need the childcare anymore, it is there for women who do play our sport, who do have smaller children who need watching during that time. It's just, priorities, really, what's important to you, and my kids and my sport and my job. So I just make all of those a priority, and somehow I managed to do it, but not without the support of my teammates. It helps, when I was working for someone, they were very supportive of me being an athlete, and they understood when, I took time off to go away for weekends, for bouts. So it's just a matter of, surrounding yourself with people who support what your goals and dreams are.
You said something to me before the show about the people that you had met since you had gotten into roller derby, and what wonderful people they were, and how you'd become a very close-knit family type organization.
Yes, that's right. I started playing in San Antonio, and I probably my whole life I always felt like I just didn't really fit in quite with different types of women's groups and different clubs and things that I tried to do, as being a grown adult woman, trying to find, making bonds with people and other women. And when I started playing roller derby, that was probably the first time I felt at home. Like I finally found the people that I was meant to be with my whole life. And it started in San Antonio, and I thought maybe it was just that first league, it was the first time that I played roller derby. I was going through a lot of changes. I had just turned 40. But when I moved here, it was like the same thing, this instant bond, this instant friendship that we developed through the struggles that we go through, being athletes, being mothers, being wives, sisters, all the roles that we have as women. And then we come together to play this sport that is just such the antithesis of everything we were raised to be as women. And now it's okay to be an athlete and want to hit hard and be rough and tough and still get off the track and go back to the lives that we've always had as women, mothers, daughters, employees.
I think that's fantastic because, again, I didn't know anything at all about roller derby. I know back in the 70s when we were living in Atlanta, roller derby was popular there, and it was on TV, and we'd watch it from time to time. There weren't that many stations to watch on TV back then. It was before cable and satellite and such. And the only thing that I knew about roller derby, and I'm sure there's a whole lot of the viewing audience who might have seen it, and all I saw was people on skates beating each other up. I had, honestly, and that's
Right,
the thing
and
we
it
want
was
to
that at one
change
point.
here because, and here you sit, a very able-bodied, obviously, and fit, in shape, lovely lady who has children, and who's a mom, who has a career. You're articulate, and yet you play this really intense and sometimes brutal sport, and I am just absolutely amazed and impressed. It was something I would have never
Thank
imagined.
you.
And I want to hear more about it, and we're going to. Now, just to kind of get the ball rolling, I was going to ask you to explain roller derby, but before I do that, I want to ask you a question that I've heard myself ask of wrestling, for instance, and I think maybe some of the viewers would have this same question because it is such an intense and sometimes brutal appearing sport. The question would be, is it real? How would you answer that?
Absolutely 100% real. It didn't used to be. At one point, it was mostly entertainment, and that's not to say that these people that were in it weren't athletic or skilled or anything like that. They definitely were, but it was more of an entertainment sport back in the 30s and the 60s, even when it was going on, and when you probably saw it on TV in the 70s. But then around 2003, there was a resurgence and a little bit of a change to the way the sport was played. It was now being played on a flat track because a bank track, which is what you saw on TV probably, just became too expensive to maintain, to try to set up places.
Right.
So we introduced a flat track where you could play pretty much anywhere. You could draw a track. You were able to play it. So that made it a lot more accessible to a lot of people, a lot of different places. And at that point is where we started developing more of a, more trying to standardize it so that it was understandable to the public, so the public would want to come watch more than just a show. It was now an actual athletic sport. We train like athletes do. We have a rule set. We have an organization that governs all our rules and the way our games, teams, leagues are run. It's called Women's Flat Track Derby Association. And all those things contribute to it being a legitimate sport where we are legitimate athletes. We have a World Cup. We have national championships that we play. And the sport just keeps changing as more and more skaters are enjoying it, and we're hoping that one day you might be able to see it on the Olympics.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I noticed you told me earlier that there is a member of roller derby who is an Olympian at this present time, correct?
Yes, Erin Jackson. It's exciting for a couple of reasons. She was a speed skater, and she started playing roller derby. Then she decided she wanted to do ice speed skating, and it was then that she learned to do that, and she tried out for the Olympics last year, I think, or she actually started ice skating last year, and she tried out for the Olympics this year, and she made the Olympic team. She's skating the 500 meter. She's going to be on tomorrow morning. At 6:58, I believe, is when her event is. So I encourage all of
Wonderful.
Columbus to go out and watch it and support her because she's just amazing. And the even better thing is that she's going to be training us in April.
Wonderful.
So we are really excited to have her, and we're honored to be in her presence when
So
she joins us.
I'm really interested in that. Is that 6:58 our time?
Yes,
or
Eastern time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
before I forget, and I've already told him that he needs to make a quick flash of himself with the camera. I don't know if he will or not. Tim Childry is behind the scenes over there with the headphones and the two screens and all the wires and the cables and the computerized
guys.
stuff. He's the man with the plan.
Now you see why I don't get on camera.
Very, 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 very vital part of this show, I might add, more so than what I'm doing. Okay, explain. Well, you know, in watching roller derby, it's kind of like football to me. It's very intense, and it requires so much. I'm going ooh 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 because I can see these people banging into each other, kind of like football, and I don't get it. I mean, I know you've explained it to me, but I still can't keep up with what's going on. But that's the woman in me, as far as being Miss Susie Homemaker, I guess. I don't know. But explain roller derby in general in a little 101.
Okay, so it is 5-on-5. So each team has 5 skaters that they set out on the track. We have the players that one team consists of a jammer and 4 blockers. So the object of the game is for each of the opposing blockers to try to block the opposing jammer to prevent her from circling the track, because once she gets out of what is known as the pack, which is both teams together, when she comes out of the pack, if the first jammer that comes out is called the lead jammer. When she comes out of that pack first, she comes around, and as she's approaching the skaters one more time, that's that first initiating pass, is she doesn't score any points yet for that first time she passes, but the second time, every girl that she passes is a point. So that's why you'll see the other team trying to knock that other jammer out, knock her down, knock her out of the track. As if they knock her out of the track, then she has to go all the way back around the skaters who just knocked her out. And when you've been fighting to get through that pack and you get knocked out, you really don't want to go back. So jammers will do their best to not get knocked out.
That brings up another point. Again, it's very intense. We know football players have injuries on a regular basis, and I'm sure this is true in roller derby as well. Have you personally experienced any injuries?
Yes, when the first 6 months probably I started playing, I broke my ankle. That was like the first time I'd ever broken a bone ever in my life. It was pretty traumatic because I was, a full-time mom. I had just moved into a 2-story condo, so it was kind of it was a challenge, but I overcame it, and I broke my ankle December 18th, 2011, and I was back on skates March 1st, 2012.
And the kids were how old then?
They were 9 and 4.
So was this like a traumatic thing for them, or did they go, "Oh, Mom, that's really cool"?
Well, were they there when I think they were there when I broke my ankle. So they
Wow.
did come to the hospital with me, and it was at the hospital that they got a little scared. But after that, they were fine. And, I think through a lot of the challenges that we've had since then, I've always been a very resilient, very upbeat and positive person. So because I don't sweat it, they don't either. So they've always been okay with everything that I do, and they've never wanted to talk me out of roller derby. So
Really,
I'm glad.
that's great. So
Yeah.
they do support you. Now, have you had other injuries besides that? And what are some of the typical injuries that people in roller derby
Lots of
sustain?
jammed fingers. I've separated my shoulder twice since my broken ankle. Shoulder injuries, busted fingers, ankle issues. You'll see a lot of knee injuries. But people ask me every time I say things like that, people will cringe like, "Oh, I don't know." Especially as adults, when you're a kid, you can bounce back from things. As an adult, not so much. But you hear so much about people that they can step up a curb and break their ankle. So if I'm going to hurt myself, then I might as well do it doing something that I love and something that's fun, and at least something more interesting to say then.
Well, that's ironic you said that, because just a few years ago I hit the only curb in a parking lot and went down and destroyed my shoulder and,
Oh,
and had 3
no.
surgeries just to get the use of
See?
my hand back. So yeah, it can
It would
happen.
have been
to
a better
anybody.
story if you said, "Yeah, this girl was coming around out of turn 1 and she knocked me over."
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
she said it. She's doing something she loves. You ask any athlete in any sport, they're going to give you a litany of list of injuries that they've had, but they got up and went straight back to that sport because they loved it.
Right, and I was going to say it's worth it to you.
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, I just, I train hard. I'm in the best shape of my life, and I just, whatever's going to happen is whatever's going to happen. It's just, you can control what you can control, and the rest will just fall into place.
Well, and you made a good point with the training and the staying in shape, because if you weren't in shape and the muscles weren't what they needed to be, those injuries would have been a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened to me,
Yes.
because I was totally out of shape, so there was no support in that shoulder, and it was just the worst it could be.
Right.
Where it might have just been a little separation or dislocation for you.
Mm-hmm.
I was lazy. So that's a lesson to all of us, whether you're roller derby or whatever. We need to kind of get into an exercise routine and eat properly and get the right amount of rest and all those things that I don't do. So do as I say, not as I do. Right, Tim?
You know, the thing is, I had a couple of videos of these young ladies training,
Yes.
and I couldn't pull them off. I'm going to put them on the page when we put up the show.
Right.
And possibly go ahead and insert them when you guys see this. But these young ladies they bust their butt.
Yes, they do. I was watching. It's
I saw doing
intense.
burpees, jumping up and down. I saw one, they were going on a 10-mile, I would say hike, but they were on skates. So they were down the river walk. We're going 10
right,
miles
yeah.
on it.
Our trail skating, yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
So I said,
Well, I
"Oh,
was
boy."
very impressed. I mean, I just was in awe of what you do and how you do it. Tell me how you got started into roller derby.
So I just gotten divorced. It was back in Texas, and it was back when Facebook was starting to become really popular. And I had just gone to my 20th reunion, and I saw a friend of mine she had pictures of herself playing roller derby, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I'd seen the movie Whip It a couple of years before that. And at the time I was in the middle, I just had a baby. There was no way I was in any kind of shape to even think about playing roller derby. So I loved the movie, and I thought, man, I wish that would have been around when
Have
I
you
was a
skated
kid.
before? Were you?
I had. Well, as a kid, I was a rink rat. You know, I was at the rink a couple times a week from the time I was like 8 till I was maybe 13 or 14 years old, and I really didn't realize how much that stayed with me until my daughter, my middle daughter, started getting interested in going to skating and going to skating parties and so forth. And so I thought, okay, I'll put my skates on, and I joined her, and it came back to me. And pretty soon I was doing turnaround toe stops, things I didn't think I would ever be able to do again. And I was like, wow, this is really good exercise. But I just, I didn't really think much about it. And then it was kind of just a perfect storm of events where I had some extra time on my hands because I was no longer married and had a husband to take care of. So I had started getting in shape already. I was running and just doing things, regular exercise type activities. And then I just felt like I needed something more. I don't know. I was bored. And so when I saw my friend's Facebook post about her playing roller derby, I reached out to her, and she told me about the team in San Antonio, and I went and tried out. And I made it, and
Really?
and it was love at first sight. I had never even watched an actual game being played. I just knew, watching them out there practicing, I was like, I have to do this. I just have to.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, you were talking about getting on a team. And I asked you earlier, and Tim, I think we discussed this on the chat, the requirements. If anybody was interested or decided they wanted to be a part of roller derby, what exactly would be required of them? What would their criteria need to be in order to get involved in roller derby?
Well, that league, you had to have, they actually had tryouts. They had a minimum set of skills they were looking for that they wanted you to have before you even joined the team. With Muskogee Roller Girls, we are a little different. We teach you everything you need to know. We don't require you to know anything. You don't have to know how to skate when you join us. We teach you everything, and we've had skaters who came to us that didn't know how to skate, and we taught them everything they needed to know, and they're phenomenal skaters now. They're phenomenal roller derby players. So
See, there's probably some young people out there, especially, and maybe even some older people who are like you were, just want something to do with their time. But in this day and time, the young people really don't have a lot to do that's positive and that's beneficial and that's healthy. And this would be actually something that, for a young woman to get out there and be a part of, and to keep herself in shape and build friendships and do something constructive and productive in her life and have mentors. I just think that's an awesome idea.
absolutely, yes. We are very much a group of women who believes in female empowerment. We lift up and support our athletes, not just on the track, but on their personal side of things. I mean, because we have to run the business side of things of our league as well. Women get exposed to doing marketing, making marketing posters, meeting with sponsors and potential sponsors, and folks that might be interested in allowing us to partner with them and do some PR events. So you get so much exposure in just public speaking and getting outside your comfort zone, so that you have to go out and take charge of things, because there's no one that's going to do these things for
That's
us.
right.
We have to go out and do it. So I think it empowers women in that sense as well. And it even did it for me. I have a lot more confidence, and I'm a lot more of a risk taker than I ever was before I started playing roller derby. And I think my sport has a lot to do with how that affected my outside roller derby life.
And you're healthy, and you're in shape, and you're pretty much self-sufficient, and all of those things. I have great-grandchildren now, and we're kind of juggling them back and forth. One wanted to be in soccer, and that didn't work out, and now they're in gymnastics. And there's typically the softball and the baseball leagues for the kids, or cheerleading, or whatever. But now there's another option there, roller derby.
Absolutely.
And I think that's fantastic. And there are probably things out there that we don't even know about that are good and positive and healthy, and keep these kids fit and give their minds something to do. And I think that's a great idea. I'm going to suggest to the kids when they get older. Because poor little Lauren, bless her heart, she's getting taller and taller, and she doesn't do any sports at all. But I think she would enjoy something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
so
we
I
have
may
people that didn't
suggest
play
that to
sports at
her.
all their previous lives, and they come to us and they are suddenly they're athletes.
The smaller ones are both in gymnastics, but that doesn't interest Lauren. But this might.
You'll need to bring her to our game that we play at the Civic Center August 25th.
I was going to
Yes.
ask you about that. The next game here locally, and then what is the name of is it team? Is that what you call it?
Well, so Muskogee Roller Girls has an all-star team. That's the team that we play for, that plays for rankings, and we're part of the Women's Flat Track Derby Association. That's our competitive team, and we are currently at 165 starting this season. We have our first bout next weekend in Charlotte, Charleston. I'm sorry, not Charlotte, Charleston, South Carolina. And that's going to be a really good one. It's a matchup with an old nemesis that we've had in the past, so it's going to be a really good game. And we'll have a few travel games before we actually play here in August. And that'll be August 25th. We'll have a lot more information coming out. You're going to see a lot more marketing going on for information.
will
So
that
keep
be
an eye out
held?
for that. It's going to be at the Civic Center. So we're really excited about that because it's our first time playing at the Civic Center.
and where do people buy tickets for that?
They'll be buying them through the usual ticket outlets. I think they have
Ticketmaster?
Yeah, that the Civic Center uses.
Okay, and that'll be on a Saturday?
Yes, ma'am.
Please, everybody, mark that on your calendar. If you've never even watched roller derby, it could be interesting just as something new and different, and you might be surprised. You might really get involved, because I've enjoyed watching the clips you sent. So we'll mention that again before the show is over. August 25th on a Saturday. Get your tickets through Ticketmaster and come and see these people. But, tell me something before we get back to all of. Well, first, let me cover this. You mentioned to me earlier that there are a lot of teams internationally, and many of them have risen in the ranks to the point that they have sponsors who pay for everything that they use and everything they need and all their training and their trips. You're relatively new, and certainly to this area, and you're having to support yourselves. You're a nonprofit organization, I understand, but you have to support yourselves. And you told me, and I have to do a little plug for a friend of mine, a fellow musician as well, David McBride, who owns Buckwild Saloon on Highway 280 in the Smith Station area. He has been helping you in semi-regular fundraisers there at his establishment.
That's right. Yes. We love David. He's been an amazing benefactor for us in allowing us to go on a Friday night every other month or so, and we sell shots. And they're fun. They're one of our fundraisers, or one of our main fundraisers. So definitely come visit us at Buckwild the next time we're there.
Yeah, and we'll try to keep you informed. If you'll keep me informed, I'll make the public aware, and do support people such as David McBride and his establishment, Buckwild Saloon, who are helping positive activities in our community, things that are good for people. And you heard her talk about what they can do for the kids who get involved. And this is a positive thing, and we need to concentrate more on positive aspects than we do the negative things or sit back complacently. So we want to help, and we want to sponsor, and we want to encourage all of these people who are doing those positive things. Now, back to what I was going to say. I think there are probably a lot of misconceptions, and you covered a few of those earlier, concerning roller derby. Do you have any other things that you think people might be a little bit...
I think sometimes some of the women that come out to try out for us, and we're always recruiting, so and we never turn anyone away. Everyone is welcome. If it turns out that roller derby is not for you, you can volunteer, you can be a non-skating official, or you can be a referee. So there's more than just hard hitting that you have to be involved in if you want to be involved with roller derby. But I'm sorry, what was the question?
some of the misconceptions people have, yes.
That's right. Okay, so some of the so when we have new skaters, I think sometimes some of them might be attracted because of what they've seen on TV, or what they saw in the old they've heard about it was you get to wear fishnets and you get to wear cute little outfits. And granted, some women still will wear those cute outfits. They don't care if it's uncomfortable. They will wear that glitter, and they're going to wear that tutu. But God help you if you get in their way, because they'll hit you pretty hard.
They're old school, huh?
And that's all, most of the time, we do have a uniform that we have to wear, but there's certain liberties you can take as far as you want to glam it up, and we're fine with that. As long as you do your job on the track, you can dress any way you want. We welcome anyone who wants to be entertaining and athletic. So
And now might be a good time to, I remember when we first got here, your number on your back says 847, correct?
Correct.
And her name in roller derby is Jet Fuel.
That's
Can you
right.
tell me how you came about that name?
Well, when I first started, I was trying to figure out what my name was going to be, and it actually was something different before it was Jet Fuel. It was actually, oh God, I'm remembering what somebody turned it into, but what it was before was a deadly little secret. That's what it was. But a friend started calling it Dirty Little Secret, which I didn't like, so I changed it, and it was also too long for a jersey. I started, when you first start skating, you have all these dreams of how you want to, what kind of skater you're going to be, but then the reality of some of the things like long names don't really work well on a jersey, so you want an announcer to be able to say your name, those kinds of things. You have to think about practical things. So I shortened it to Jet Fuel because I was fast. I was fast at the time before I broke my ankle. I'm still fast, but not as fast as I used to be, I think. So
And your role on the team is jammer, so you're the one who's
Yes.
going to break through that crowd, hopefully, and you're going to circle that track, and you're going to collect those points
That's
quicker
right.
than the other team, and,
Yes.
and God forbid you get in your way, because you're going to do whatever it takes to get through that line,
yes,
right?
ma'am, I am. Yes.
Yeah, I remember the other night I actually was on Facebook and I was talking with Liz and I said something about, so this is kind of like ice hockey except on skates. She said, yeah, except with a jammer, we're the puck.
I
So-
saw that, yeah.
Kind of, I was watching YouTube videos and said, I understand what she's talking about now.
I, I would be, if I ever got involved in roller derby, I would be the one with the paper and the pen, because I could never do what you do. I could never, even when I was young, absolutely. Okay, you referred earlier, we were talking about your current standing statewide, nationally, internationally, and about the World Cup, the Olympics, and that sort of thing. Can you kind of elaborate on that just a little bit as far as where your standing is as the Muskogee Roller Derby team?
So right now, Muskogee Roller Girls, like I said, we have an all-star team, and then we have our two home teams, which is the Sin City Phoenix and the Fountain City Rapids, which is kind of our like breeding ground for potential all-stars that will go to our all-star team, and that's the team that competes for rankings, where we are at 165 right now in the world. There are about maybe between 300 to 400 teams internationally that are part of the WIFTA organization. There's really more than that. There's like thousands, but there's certain requirements you have to meet to be able to be part of WIFTA, which is kind of the equivalent to the NBA or the NFL with football or basketball. So we are at 165, and we're hoping to continue to rise. Last season, we started in the 200s, or actually like 222. And we rose almost 60-something rankings to
Wow.
165. So we are really proud of the accomplishments
I
that
bet you are.
we've made, and we're
You've
looking
worked
forward
hard to get there, I'm
yeah,
sure.
we have. We've given up a lot of time and doing a lot of different things to practice to build up our team. And we lost a lot of players because we're in a military town. A lot of the women that play with us sometimes are military spouses or in the military themselves, so we have this constant churn of losing really good talent. So we've been fortunate that as we've recruited more and more from Columbus, the Columbus area, it's more been homegrown people, so they're staying. So that's given us the opportunity to really build up those skaters' skills, and so we're hoping that this season is going to be an even better one than the last one.
Well, I would imagine that roller derby is like other sports, that you have to practice, you have to rehearse, you have to do those things that keep you in shape and keep your mind ready all the time. But you were telling me that you really have a very limited ability and an area where you can practice and perfect your moves and keep in.
Yes, that's true. We do practice at Xanadu 3 times a week. Well, 2 times a week actually. On Sundays we practice from 10 to 1, and then on Tuesdays we practice from 7 to 9. But on Tuesdays we have to share the track with the speed track team. So we've tried to find other places to skate here in Columbus, but it's really difficult because you have to have certain requirements for the space. There's safety issues we have to take into consideration, like you can't have poles in the middle of the track. So that eliminates a lot of the warehouses and different places
see.
like that people have suggested that we go try, because everybody loves us and everybody wants to see us play, but it's just really hard to find that perfect space to play. A lot of the rec centers around here are too small. The space there's just walls where we would typically be pushing a skater into.
Right,
So
right.
we definitely don't want to hurt our skaters anymore, aside from the typical,
Well, that was going to be
rough
my
and tough
next
that we do.
question. What type of venue or location would you have? Because certainly there a lot of storefronts that are empty that perhaps don't have those poles in the middle or whatever.
True, yeah, there is, but then they usually come with a really heavy price tag. And like, we're a nonprofit. We pay dues to play, so we can collect dues and we can have something to contribute. But without having maybe an investor or someone to partner with us for something like that, it's difficult for us to be able to afford that month to month. And
Okay, community. I'm sure some of the people who are watching the show now are perhaps business owners, or maybe they have an empty storefront, or perhaps they want to find a really worthwhile tax write-off. Kill two birds with one stone. And here's
Absolutely.
a prime opportunity right here. Help this sport grow, because as you heard, there are a lot of behind-the-scenes things that are very beneficial to the people in the community, and great thing for the younger people to get involved in, things that are positive and more to it than just skating around bumping into people. So if there's anything you feel you can do to help, whether it be provide a venue or to offer yourself or your business as a sponsor, they could really use your help. So be sure to contact Tim Childry on Facebook, or me, Alicia Summers McLeod, on Facebook. Or how would they contact you?
they can go to our website, www.muskogearollergirls.com. They can find us on Facebook, and we have contact information on there, or they can just email info@muskogearollergirls.com.
Wonderful. The last question that I have off the top of my head, unless I think of something else, if someone is interested in becoming involved, either on the floor or behind the scenes, can you give them an idea of what the requirements would be and how they would go about getting that ball rolling? Pardon the pun.
So all they really have to do is contact us on Facebook or email us at recruitment@muskogearollergirls.com, and we'll tell them everything they need to know. They just have to show up to practice. We usually have recruitment nights once a quarter, and when they show up there, they can sign up for a boot camp that's about $60, and it runs about 6 to 8 weeks.
Do you have any
And,
summer programs?
we will have our next recruitment in May. So, yes. So they could definitely come out then if they are trying to get in shape for the summer. That's a perfect opportunity for that. And really, the only requirement is that they come and they have a mouth guard. Really, everything else we lend them until they figure out if it's something they really want to truly invest in. Because once they do have to buy their helmet, their elbow pads, all their gear. Skates can be
So you're
pretty
safety
pricey.
conscious as much as possible.
Oh yeah,
given
absolutely.
that it's a contact
all those are
sport.
required gear. You cannot get on the floor without a helmet, without a mouth guard. All
I
that
know
is
mom and
required.
dad are going to be very interested in knowing that. Absolutely.
Well, and this is kind of going in left field with it. What the first thing I thought of was when she was describing as far as what, the being safe and as far as what they do. This past week we had a tragedy where you had, someone went up and shot a school or whatever. And the only thing I've got, if there's any young people watching, go and take that energy and channel it
There you go.
into something, that is, useful. That
Right.
is, something that is good for you.
And exercise in and of itself is therapeutic. I know that I watch Dr. Phil and other such shows from time to time when I'm trying to go to sleep because they kind of put me out. But one of the things that they say is that exercise is great for anxiety or for depression or for just kind of clearing your mind of the day's stress. And it really does work. I used to walk 4 miles a day, and it wouldn't matter how stressed I was, whether the dog had wrecked the house or the kids were raising Cain and fighting. If I walked that 4 miles, I came back with a much better attitude. So it's a therapeutic thing, just in an emotional and mental respect, not to mention from the physical point of view as
Right.
well. So I can see absolutely no deterrent for anybody to get involved with roller derby, either on the floor or behind the scenes. I'm learning a lot. I think it's great.
Awesome.
Now I know I've missed some things.
Before we go, and
okay.
Liz is going to demonstrate some
Oh,
moves and so forth that goes on
Great.
on the track. But before we do that, we got a photo of some of the teams that you've actually been in the past, or
This is our current league. So we have our All-Star League, which is the team in green and black, and then we have our Fountain City Rapids, which is the blue. I'm also on that team. And then we have our Sin City Phoenix, which is in the red. So those are our two home teams.
okay. So we've got a picture up right now, and Liz can't see the picture, so I'm having to kind of let her know. But actually, they're in green jerseys, and I believe this is just
That's our all-star team.
The roller. That's your all-star
Right.
team. Okay. And then let's see next. Let's see if we can pull this up. And in the blue jerseys, and the trident. I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yes, that's Fountain City Rapids.
Okay. And are they also in Columbus? Or?
Yes, they're all in Columbus.
So the some of the members of the Fountain City team are on the All-Star team, so it
Correct.
kind of crosses
Yes.
over type thing.
That's
Okay,
correct,
that's
yeah.
cool. And the last one, also in red,
It's Sin City Phoenix.
Sin City Phoenix, Arizona. You know, I looked, you know, ever since we found out that Liz was going to be on the show, I'm trying to get back to the screen here. There we go. I've been going on YouTube and of course the internet and just kind of typing up things and so forth. Roller derby seems to be really big out west.
It's actually big on the East Coast too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, very much so. There's top 20 teams in New York, in Maine, in North Carolina, in Florida. Georgia has the Atlanta Roller Girls. So yeah, I mean, I can't think of a state that doesn't have a roller derby team.
Well, I mean, maybe I should rephrase that. Everyone has teams, but it seems that there are certain areas that they actually support them. In other words, they may have their own arenas.
Yes. Okay. So yes, you are correct. In the Pacific Northwest, like the Rose City Roller Girls, have a really big following up there.
Yeah.
It just depends. Like New York does too. They're Gotham Girls, and it depends too. Sometimes I think on where they play, because like here, I think it's like there's not a pro sports team, so it's maybe a little easier to get folks to come to watch us play because there's not a whole lot of other stuff going on like that. Whereas like San Antonio, my team back there had to compete with the San Antonio Spurs. They had to compete with the Dallas Cowboys. You know, there was just all this other access to all these other major sports teams, so it made it hard for us to compete with that.
They got kind of lost in the shuffle type thing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can get that.
Well, now Columbus has
College
correct me if I'm
ball
wrong,
here, though.
baseball team.
Yeah, there's a lot of college
and
sports
hockey
here.
team, and a roller derby teams.
Roller derby would be a pretty cool thing to add.
That's the
'cause
only
I know
three things we have
Columbus
in
has
this
a lot
area.
of minor league teams and a lot
Okay.
of arena football
Okay. I
in
missed
town that
that
they don't support. Now, of course, around here you'd rather have people that would go to SEC football and pay hundreds of dollars for a ticket
if they can get one.
rather than go down and watch the same entertainment that they could
Right.
get in town.
Yeah, and we try to make our schedule so that it doesn't overlap with any of the bigger college football stuff that's going on. So our season starts in February and it ends in like September, October timeframe.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. When the season does, what's the
So
time frame as far
there
as
is
it
a
goes?
season for roller derby.
Yes.
I was not aware
Yes.
of that. Okay. Let me say one more time before I forget, and I have to write these things down. Please be sure to mark your calendar. Contact Ticketmaster regarding August the
25th.
25th. Yes, and that's on a Saturday. Tell them you want to buy tickets for your family and for your friends to go see
Muskogee
Liz
Roller Girls.
Jet Fuel performing roller derby. I'm going to go. I just think it's fabulous. I'm going to take Lauren and the girls. They're going to love it. And
Yay!
and my daughter's a paramedic, so she loves the hockey game. She got to toss one of the little hockey pucks out the last hockey game in town, so she's going to be she's sports minded. She's
Okay, awesome.
she's really
You
cool.
know, we and have volunteers that are medics for us at
Really?
the games too. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's great. Also, you were going to show us some of your moves, and I don't want to forget to do that because I'm really interested in seeing this. Now, do I have to be a guinea pig, or can I just kind of sit here and smile?
No, you're going to have to stand over there with
Oh,
her. Now,
my
whether
Lord.
she actually
I
hits
won't
you or
hurt
not,
you, I promise. And it's kind of hard
Now-
to show too much because there's not a whole wall of people, but I can kind of give you an
well,
idea
this is
of
true.
Okay.
what
Yeah.
it feels like.
Well, I'm game because she promised me and everything that she was going to go easy on me.
Plus I'm the only gentleman in the actual room here, so that's the reason I'm sitting way over here across the room, guys.
Yeah, you're just kind of scared, aren't you?
No, I'm smart. I consider being smart. There's a big difference, okay?
Okay. Well, shall we go over there now while you show a picture or two, or how do you want to do that?
Well, actually, give us a few seconds, and we'll go ahead and let these ladies over there, and we'll head on over.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay, we're back, and Liz is going to demonstrate some of the moves. Of course, she can't do it quite like they do on the rink or on the floor, whatever you call it. Thank goodness, because I have no idea what I'm doing. But to give you just a little bit of an idea. So at this point, you explain to them what we're going to
Okay, so
do.
typically when you're starting a jam, because a jam is 2 minutes, that's what the time we have to try to get around the track and score as many points as we can. we will start off. There's a line. They call it the jam line, and I'm standing behind it.
Okay.
While the blockers, you're a blocker.
I'm a blocker.
So you're standing in front, and you are standing here, and we're gonna pretend that there is like a skater here and another skater over here.
And we've got a
and
line,
skater
and
in front of
you can't
holding
get through, man. You cannot get through
so,
here.
what happens is they blow the whistle. I'm standing back here like this, and I'm giving you the stank eye, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just about to run over you. And then when they blow the whistle, that's where I will move forward, and I'm usually on my toe stops because I use that as leverage to push.
Okay.
And so I will first hit you hard. I can't hit you on your back because that's a back block. So
That's
I have
against
to
the rules, right?
Right. So I have to hit. I kind of have to look for a seam, which is usually if there's a skater that wants to turn around and look at me.
Like
will,
I just
that's
did?
right here. Yes, we love that because then I can. Hit
I'm
you.
already out.
So what I would typically do if I'm on my skates, I would come up and I would nail you like
And
this.
then I'm gone over here. And you
yes,
go
and then
through.
I get to go through. So
Okay.
that's one way we move you. But skaters are smart, and they're strong. So what will happen sometimes is as soon as they see that I'm looking there, they will clamp it closed. That little door
The
will
gap
close
between the
for me.
people.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they'll be shoulder to shoulder and butt to butt or hip to hip, and I won't be able to get through. So I can try to hit them a little more to loosen them up. But if that doesn't work, then what I might do is I might do a spin move where I turn this way and I take off running this way. Before they even know what happened.
That's strategic.
Yes. So
Okay.
those are some of the moves that we have. Sometimes if they're kind of closing on me, but I've managed to get a leg through where I'm here and they're still trying to hold me. They can't put the arm like that
Oh, they
because
can't do that.
if they cross arms, that's called a multiplayer block. And if I try to go through it, then that is a penalty on them. And they will go
Okay.
to the box, so they can't do that.
And you
So-
said you don't want to go to the box.
no, nobody wants to go to the box. So, but what I would do is I would step through and then I would just start wiggling my shoulders like that to get through to
And
to
all
make
we
the-
can do is just try to retaliate.
Right, to try to not feel it, but usually can't. They can't.
And this is why there's so many pileups and people falling down.
yeah,
over there.
exactly, because you've got a bunch of feet going everywhere and different. And some
And
skaters
this is
are,
how you break an ankle.
Sometimes, yeah. I actually broke an ankle. How did I do that? Oh, I got hit out. But that's another thing. We have to teach people how to fall. And I was
Right.
new and I hadn't really gotten the idea of getting into derby form, which is derby form is usually you have to be down here. If you're up here, this is a good way to get knocked down because your balance is not where it needs to be. When you're down here, you're more solid. So if someone hits you, you just sway and you keep going. But if you're up here, you're going to go flying. So there's a lot of things that we teach. One of the first things we teach is good derby form. So you're always in this way of skating or standing on your skates so that you are solid. And if somebody hits you, you just take it and keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. So now
As
now
far
I've had
as-
the crash course.
Yeah, there's a lot of other
Pardon the
things
pun,
that
the crash
blockers do
course.
to get us to knock us out. But maybe if we come back with some blockers next time, if you want to have us on again, we can show
Oh,
you
that'd
that.
be awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, we can bring a couple of other players so you can really get the idea or the feel for it.
Now, this was a really mild form of what they do, I'm sure. And I'm going to go to your practice, and I'm going to go to the game, of course, or you call it a game or bout? You
Bout.
said
It's
a
a bout.
In August on the 25th. But it's very interesting to me. And just a little bit of push and shove, I feel that. But I cannot imagine being on that floor and then having them hit me full force. Because this is a pretty able-bodied young lady here, you see. So this is a force to be reckoned with. So you really want to see this in action.
Now you have to consider too. You're not on wheels. You actually have your
Yes.
That's right.
your full feet.
That's right. And if you're on wheels, that would make it even easier for me to fall down because I don't do well just on stable feet. You know, we talked about the clumsy thing already.
And you apparently all these blocks that she's showing you that she throws, she has to be very careful because I saw this YouTube video by I don't know some team out west, and they showed me how much they love it when their jammer gets thrown into the penalty box.
Oh, really?
They said they love that. Yeah. Apparently they have to go on full defensive mode. I don't know. Is that true, Liz?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We like when the other jammer goes
The
to
other
the box
jammer
because then
gets-
it's a power jam and we get to score points.
That's probably what they meant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
you
that
know.
might be what it was that they mean. Yeah, a power jam is good because you get to just go around and score. If you can get through the pack pretty easily, you can score up a lot of points, rack up a lot of points. Yeah.
And and each one of the little segments is 2 minutes.
Right, a jam is 2 minutes, depending on. So what I was telling you earlier about a lead jammer, if that person gets out first And if I know that that other skater, the other jammer is coming out behind me, and she's going to start scoring on before I can get through the pack myself, I'll hit my hips like this, and that means the jam is over. I have the power to call it off, so she can't score.
Oh.
And then we start again with another 2 minutes, and another jammer comes on the track,
Really?
and another set of blockers usually.
Yeah, it was amazing to me because I was sitting here last night and Liz had said, "Hey, we're going to send you." Liz, can you come up to the mic a little bit closer? Maybe.
Sure.
No, that's fine right there. But I got to, she had sent all these links to us that we said, "Hey, we're pretty clueless about roller derby." She said, "Hey, here's roller derby 101." And if you go on YouTube, you watch one video, it leads you to another one, to another one. There's some great videos out
sure
there.
is.
Oh yeah.
And,
I still
one
can't
as
keep
far
up
as
with everybody,
all
but-
about, and they were just making fun of the lingo that they had. And you go on there and there's like about a 10-minute video. Just you said, okay, this is so and so, and then they were making fun of it. It just amazed me. It's like a whole other language, and it's pretty neat thing to watch.
I was fascinated, and I didn't get to watch nearly as many as you did, but I was fascinated by what I watched, and I still can't keep up with what's going on and who's on what team and where the jammer is and what's going on. I have no
It takes
idea.
a couple of times, so that's just even more reason to come watch more games.
There you go. There you go. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
There you go. Like you said, that's
But-
the reason to go out and watch it.
But now you are very safety conscious. I noticed when you first got here, you were going to dress in your full regalia, but we didn't let you do that.
Oh
But
yes,
you
of
have
course, yes. I have a
guards and
helmet,
everything.
I have elbow pads, I have wrist guards, I have knee pads, and then of course my skates.
Now,
And a
these-
mouth guard.
Tell me about skates. What kind of skates do you use as opposed to what, say, a kid would use in a roller rink? Tell me the difference.
Well, our skates the boots are usually heat moldable. That means that they form fit your foot, because the last thing you want is a boot that doesn't fit you, because then you're prone to blisters, and that's not fun when you're trying to hit somebody and your foot is hurting and you can't concentrate on trying to get through the pack because you've got this pain in your foot.
Right.
So the boot is really important. Our wheels are important because they help us be more agile. They help us be able to make the quick turns and sharp moves and stops that we do so that we can get away from a jammer, or in the case of a blocker, helps them catch a jammer so that they can hold them back. Their wheels are really important for that. The bearings in our wheels are important because that's how quick we can roll, how quick we can get around the track without having to use our own energy, because we're trying to use our energy to hit people.
Right.
We need our bearings to help us pick up that speed once we get out of the pack.
Is there maintenance on all of that?
Yes. Yeah. You probably, a good pair of skates probably last you maybe 2 seasons, 3 seasons, just depends, and then you got to get new ones. So.
But what do you do to maintain them other than, certainly more than just put them on and take them off?
No, you have to. You can clean your bearings. You take them out, and you have this little process that you use to clean your bearings. You clean your wheels. We wash our gear, of course, because there's roller derby gear smells legendary. so
I can
I always
relate.
call that legendary.
so
Mine was high school football, but I can relate how the equipment smells after a while.
So we throw those in the wash or the dishwasher. There's lots of different ways to clean our gear. Our helmets, we have it has padding in it as well that we have to take out and clean. We have stickers all over our helmets, so we can't wash those like you would think, but it doesn't really get dirty in a sense. I have a face shield that protects me from black eyes and
Oh, great.
Nose hits, so that can get scratched sometimes. It has to be replaced, but yeah.
Yeah, I would think in falling that would be an easy thing to have happen. The eyes, the nose, even the teeth or the lips or whatever.
You actually, when you fall, because we teach you how to fall, you really tend to fall more with your hands or your knees, or maybe backwards. You might hit your head more than you would hit your face per se. Your face is hit more from elbows flying back, and not necessarily intentionally, and more it's just the nature of the sport that we're
Right.
playing. So you will have an elbow fly into your nose, or someone's trying to grab their other partners to stop you from going, and when they do that, instead of getting their partner before they do that, they hit you in the face with their elbow or their wrist or their it's just all kinds of things
I
happen.
can see where a shield would be really handy.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
have.
I've been poked in the eye with somebody's finger before. Before I had my shield, so all kinds of crazy things happen out there when they're trying to stop you. So
Yeah, and before we go, I want to apologize. That's actually, Liz doesn't have like a magic shirt that you can see through. That's actually my fault, guys. That's she happens to wear the shade of green, which we are using, and she, like I said, she doesn't have the magic shirt that's invisible.
Behind us is not actually a rink. Behind us is just a green wall, and it's the same color as her green shirt. So when she turns sideways, and he's got the rink up there for you to see.
Well, no, actually,
No?
I
You changed
tried
it?
to tell, like I told another gentleman, we actually have a studio and we're on the river. We don't tell people. We actually have our own rink. We don't tell them.
We're
Yes.
here at the rink, and,
but-
and by the wonders of technology, we have just created an open space right here so you wouldn't miss what's going on out there on the floor. But the green is the same color as what most people would have as a green screen, but we don't use because we're actually in the rink, and it appears as though you can see through it.
And since between the
good?
three of us we have like $5, we don't have to worry about us having a whole lot of green. That would, well, okay, bad joke. I'm not going to go there. But that to bring it up before we go, that was absolutely amazing, and I can relate to what Liz was saying. We were talking, and she said, that a lot of their things were self-funded. And it's really rough, and that's like this show. For me, it's totally self-funded for me, and
And I give you a hand because
but
you've been doing this a while.
what I'm saying is it forces you to be creative and go out and find
Yes,
something that
definitely has challenged our creative resources. So
Exactly.
we know how to hustle.
you have to go. Okay, I need to get this. I can't afford it. How can I make this work? And
It's surprising the things you can come up with when you have to.
Survivor skills.
Things you can just kind of invent or make or just kind of mold into being where they're really not there at all.
Right, you make do.
all right. Well,
Well, I want you
anything
to do
else?
something for me, Tim. I can tell about the show after the next two, but you're more familiar with the name of the person. I know next week we're going to have a professional wrestler on.
Ex-professional wrestler.
Ex-professional wrestler. What is his name? Do you know?
Name's Don Sanders.
Don Sanders.
Don actually went around the, I'm not going to say what part of the country. I want to say the southeast. May have been another part, but he did a lot of shows, I guess indie shows, independent shows. And it's really interesting. Just like Liz, it's the parallels that you were asking about with wrestling. Is it real? And roller derby. It's really weird if you look at it. Roller derby used to, as Liz said, used to be more of a theatrical thing back in the 70s, but now it's more real. Well, if you look at wrestling, a lot of that was real back in the 70s, but now it's more theatrical in modern
Is that
day.
right?
Yeah,
See,
it
I haven't
is.
watched it in a long time. I don't have time to watch TV anymore.
Yeah, there's
It's
a lot
almost
of
like
things.
soap operas. They're almost like soap operas of the way they develop the characters of the wrestlers, and it's interesting.
We went.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
tell more about this next. We went to a friend's house in the '70s when we were in Georgia, and we were supposed to have a cookout and having dinner with them, and suddenly they ran into the living room, threw themselves on the floor in front of the TV, and said. And I'm like, what's going on? 30 minutes later, oh, we're so sorry. It was time for El Mongo. And they had to watch wrestling. We'll tell them more about that kind of thing next week.
it's like anything else. You're going to have to keep in shape, and you still have to work out, and you're going to take the hits and the bumps. But there's just a lot of things that are real that are not real, and like Liz said,
depends on
it
the
becomes more of a
perspective.
soap opera sometimes.
Yeah, is it real? Well, it is real. But is it real in the sense that you're thinking, or is it real in another sense? And
Well,
so
we'll
have
find
him
out next.
elaborate
We'll find
more
out
on
next
that.
week.
That's
We'll
going to
ask
be
Don.
interesting.
He can kind of steer us in
Yeah.
the right direction.
Now, the following week, we have a hairdresser here in
Yeah.
town, and her name is?
Her name is Lindy Dozeman Wright. I've known Lindy for years. I'm sitting here trying to do 5 things at once, and she has started a business right now where she is going out and she is doing brides right now. Which, and the interesting thing about brides right now, with my wife actually just walked in the door, and she does wedding dresses for brides. I have found out with women, they're actually 2 times that the budget makes no difference when they go to the prom and when they have a wedding.
You're right. You're absolutely correct, 100%.
Gentlemen, the rest of the time, I can tell you they will get after you about not spending money, but if you come up on those 2 times, the checkbook gets thrown out the
And
door.
don't you dare
Yeah.
record a fishing show over those wedding videos.
Anyway, Liz, I want to say thank you very much for joining us today. I can't even see Liz. I've got a light
Oh.
between us, and it is blocking her view, so I can see like her bottom half there.
Before you finish that, because I want to welcome her back and
Sure.
ask her to come back and see us too. But the following week, which will be March the 10th, is that correct? We're going to have a local person here who's a businessman. He's also a musician, but that's not what he's going to be on the show for. Rob Todd I know all of you on Facebook locally know Rob, and we've all become very caught up in this recent shooting. It was in Florida, and the other things that are similar to that, and just the nation in general, the mindset of different factions. And we're going to try to keep this under control, but I think it's going to be a really intense show. It's going to inspire a whole lot of thought and hopefully a whole lot of feedback. We're going to try to keep it totally under control. We want it to all be positive, nothing negative, because we want a show that is hopefully going to educate the community or give some suggestions to the community and to ourselves how we can get involved to make our neighborhood, our city, our state, our country, our world a much better place. And Rob, I think, has some fantastic ideas, and he's very eloquent. He knows how to present them. He's not going to present them exactly as he does on Facebook because it's a little looser venue, but we're looking forward to that show.
And I know I told you guys to do this. Y'all take about one step back. There you go. I wanted to get a full shot of these young ladies before.
I like the young part.
And, you know, well, you know, I told Liz when we first started talking, one of the things that I wanted to go with, and I know she covered it, was the stigma that a lot of these young ladies go over. And like I said, when you get a chance, watch the video of these guys. I mean, these are some beautiful young women, but they work very, very hard in the gym and you know, working out. And
they're
it's something I really
mothers,
didn't
and they're
know.
Career women, and they're not all their whole lives devoted to sports and very heavy duty contact sports activities that you might think. They're very feminine ladies for the major part. There are all sorts of people. It's just a wide open field. I just think it's fantastic.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, guys. She's a beautiful lady and she's feminine, but there's no way that I would mess with her, okay? That's the reason I'm going to stay sitting way over here. In the meantime, anybody got anything else to say?
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've learned a whole lot. There's a whole lot more I need to learn, and I do want to come to one of your practices. I do want to see that game, the bout, and bring Lauren, because I think that would interest her, and as the little ones would be interested too, but maybe her more so.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much.
having us.
Thank
I
you.
was a pleasure coming here and talking with y'all. I hope we can come back again and do it again.
Hope you can. I would like that very
Yeah,
much.
speaking of career, we're going to let Liz get out of here so she can enjoy what's left of her weekend with her kids. So we appreciate her being
It's been a great
patient with
day.
us today.
We appreciate all of you watching. Join us every week for the show.
There you go, guys. See you next week.
Bye now.